start by thanking the government of Colombia for their initiative in organizing this event and inviting the Wildlife Justice Commission to participate, and also for their leadership at the multilateral level on addressing crimes that affect the environment, both in Vienna, where the CCPCJ sits, and here at the CBD COP. Thank you for your leadership. The illegal exploitation of wild flora and fauna is destroying our planet's biodiversity. Vulnerable species are being trafficked to the point of extinction, while criminals make billions from illegal sales. We are at risk of losing 2 million species in the coming years, like rhinos, pangolins, tigers, and turtles. The exploitation of nature by humans and environmental crimes has also led to a worsening climate crisis. For instance, illegal poaching, logging, and fishing diminish the capacity of forests and oceans to act as carbon sinks, exacerbating the release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and accelerating global warming. Each species has a role and significance in ecosystems, and disturbing that balance could lead to unhealthy ecosystems. IWT is transnational, serious, organized crime. As the fourth largest crime after drugs, arms, and human trafficking, IWT brings with it up to almost $200 billion per year of illicit proceeds. To effectively combat these crimes, the Wildlife Justice Commission works with the mission to disrupt and help dismantle the transnational criminal networks trading in wildlife, timber, and fish by collecting evidence and turning it into accountability. We do this to ensure that our species are not driven to extinction by organized criminal groups. We carry out our mission of disrupting the trafficking of wildlife, fish, and timber in a few ways. We conduct law enforcement-driven, intelligence-led investigations. We analyze intelligence to be shared with law enforcement and policymakers. We provide operational support, training, and mentoring to law enforcement. And we influence policy and build political will to address wildlife crime. We've seen what works on the ground and how to target these high-level offenders. This includes utilizing special investigative techniques, such as undercover operations and controlled deliveries, tackling corruption, that of facilitating such crimes across the global supply chain, and conducting financial investigations in parallel to criminal investigations. IWT is a cross-cutting criminal activity that cannot be tackled in isolation from other crimes. It also frequently converges with these ancillary crimes, corruption and money laundering, as well as other serious crimes, such as human and drug trafficking. To date, we've worked with law enforcement agencies in 31 countries to arrest 260 people, including kingpins and corrupt facilitators, to seize tons of illegal wildlife parts and products, as well as over 12,000 live animals, to dismantle 62 organized crime networks, and achieved a 100% conviction rate for cases finalized in court. Here are some examples of the animal parts and live animals we've come across during our investigations. The first picture on the left is of elephant ivory that was painted black to disguise its material. It was hidden under a load of cow horns and was confiscated in Vietnam shortly after the arrest of suspects in Nigeria. Traffickers go to great lengths to conceal their crimes. To put that in perspective, for example, in 2019, global ivory seizures spiked at almost 40 tons. The second picture is of lemurs. In May 2024, law enforcement agencies acting on intelligence provided by the Wildlife Justice Commission arrested six suspects and seized 1,076 radiated tortoises and 48 lemurs. This seizure underscores the severity of the impact of wildlife trafficking on endangered species. Radiated tortoises and all lemur species are listed under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, Appendix 1, meaning that trade in specimens of these species is permitted only in exceptional circumstances. The third picture is of a tiger cub that was saved from being sold for the live pet trade in Thailand through a joint WJC Royal Thai Police operation. The tiger is now safe in a sanctuary in Thailand. Tigers are key species as they're at the top of their food chain. Unfortunately, between 2000 and 2022, a staggering 3,377 tigers were seized from traffickers from over 50 countries. The illegal trade has devastating impacts on tigers' population and on ecosystems balance. As mentioned, to go for the kingpins, it is crucial to adopt a follow-the-money approach within wildlife crime investigations. There are two reasons as to why this is necessary. First, tracing the financial flows can help to identify the proceeds of crime, where and how money is moving into the criminal network, and ultimately lead to the high-level offenders of the network. Second, financial investigations also provide alternative avenues for prosecution that often carry higher sentences. Deterrent sentences for high-level offenders is important because we want to change the perception of IWT being low risk, high reward. We provide law enforcement support in financial investigations in two ways. First, PPPs play a crucial role in bringing the private and public sector together to partner in the fight against IWT. For example, we are active partners in the PPP Project Anton, led by Canada's Scotiabank and supported by Fintrec, United for Wildlife, and others. In particular, we assisted in providing reporting entities with money laundering indicators associated with the illegal wildlife trade. Second, while financial institutions such as banks can identify potential illicit financial flows and money laundering through their accounts, specialist NGOs such as the Wildlife Justice Commission can provide the public sector with expertise and support through intelligence on wildlife traffickers. As an NGO, we do not have access to financial intelligence as part of an investigation. However, we often collect and analyze a considerable amount of financial intelligence through other unique channels, such as through our undercover investigations. This can provide insights on money laundering techniques and price data. Our intelligence analysis of phone data also can provide relevant information, such as methods of transactions, banking information, and lifestyle, which we can share with our law enforcement partners. Unfortunately, financial investigations are often still not utilized for IWT and are still the exception rather than the norm. This can lead to missed opportunities. I'd like to give you an example of one of the biggest cases we've worked on in relation to ivory and rhino horn trafficking in Vietnam, and what we were able to learn about the main suspect's financials. An Nam was a kingpin, a wholesale broker in a transnational organized crime group that trafficked massive quantities of ivory and rhino horn from Africa to China via Vietnam. Our investigation spanned a 3-year period from 2016 to 2019 over 3 countries. We documented that An Nam had access to over $17 million in illegal wildlife products, including ivory in the equivalent of 1,760 elephants and rhino horn equating to about 106 rhinos. And this is likely only a fraction of what his network had access to. The investigation resulted in 15 seizures by Vietnamese authorities and ultimately saw the convictions of 47 people, ranging from 9 months to 15 years. An Nam was convicted to 11 years in prison, where he remains today. This sentence set an important message, which was that the risk-reward ratio for wildlife crime was changing. However, the investigation into the An Nam network came up short in one area. During our investigation, we collected valuable intel into An Nam's payment methods that we shared with authorities in Vietnam and China. An Nam's access to $17 million worth of wildlife products, in addition to how quickly he could access them, indicated significant flow of proceeds of crime. He and his wife owned multiple properties and luxury cars and often displayed their wealth publicly. There were multiple entry points to start an investigation, such as the bank accounts we knew he used for 3 years and bank accounts that were opened in China by nominees to pay An Nam. Other entry points included the Chinese buyers that paid him via WeChat Pay, the use of cash couriers, and the wire transfers to accounts held by illegal
accounts held by legal timber businesses in China that never seemed to raise suspicion. He may have used his wife's real estate business to launder funds. Unfortunately, none of these leads were investigated by authorities, which we consider to be a significant missed opportunity. Had these leads been looked into by authorities, the proceeds of crime might have been identified and assets seized, and we might have gained significant intelligence into the wider who's who of wildlife trafficking in Vietnam and China and other kingpins. This case shows the importance of conducting financial investigations in parallel to and in response to wildlife crime cases, and conducting follow-up investigations in cases where there are indications of financial crimes. Tracing the financial flows can help to identify the proceeds of crime, where and how the money is moving in the criminal network, and ultimately lead to the kingpins of the networks. And as I mentioned, financial investigations also provide alternative avenues for prosecution that often carry higher sentences. Both the public and private sector need to prioritize combating the financial flows connected to IWT for this threat to be effectively addressed. If you'd like to learn more about the investigation, we put together a podcast that you can access on our website along with the full report.
Thank you very much for your attention. And I encourage you to follow us on our social media channels to learn more about our work.